Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, do you have screw it syndrome? And I know that grabbed your attention, but I promise you it's actually true. I couldn't use the actual word that I normally use with people that tell me their woes and what they're doing behind the scenes. So let's define that. So, what is screw it syndrome? It's when you reach a point, and I know many of you are there already. It's when you reach that point where you go, you know what? I have tried everything. I genuinely have cleaned up my diet. I've thrown out gluten. I've listened to what Amie said. I went through my pantry. The processed foods are gone. Threw them in the trash. They're gone. I've cut way back on sugar. I've gone paleo. I've gone keto. I'm doing keto for the week, like she says. I'm even doing it the right way and fluctuating my carbs on the weekends. I'm doing clean keto and not dirty keto. I'm taking my supplements. I had everything, air quotes, tested, and nothing is working. So screw it. I'm eating the pizza and I'm eating the brownies and I'm eating the cookies because anything I do doesn't matter anyways. Why bother? The problem with this is when you get into this cycle and you start eating the pizza and you start eating the brownies and you start eating the cookies, you are going way off the wagon. Now you're bringing in those foods that will just make the situation worse. So at the moment, you might think, hey, listen, I'm not gaining any more than I'm already gaining. I'm not feeling worse than what I was feeling. My energy certainly isn't lower than what it has been. But this will build up over time. And I'm going to tie this back to your thyroid and your hormones and your weight and your body in just 1 second. When you get into the screw it syndrome and you start just bringing in all of these foods, you stop exercising because you're like, that didn't work anyway. So why bother? Why waste my time? Why take time out of my day? Why go to the gym? Why do, yoga, or why do Pilates, or why do your favorite exercise on demand video? Why even bother? Because it's not making a difference anyways. So when you get into that cycle, when you start bringing in the crappy food, when you start bringing in the donuts again, when you start bringing in the cookies, what you're doing is you're creating an inflammatory state in your body that is going to spur on Hashimoto's. It's going to create that autoimmune storm where we see thyroids get worse, and it's going to create a state of inflammation. It's going to pump up your cortisol because of stress. It's going to pump up your insulin, your blood sugar because of the high carbohydrate and sugar intake. So even though you're in that mode, and we can all laugh about it, we've all been there. I get it. You are actually doing more damage than what you think beneath the surface. So we need to bring you out of, we can cure screw it syndrome today by a simple choice. And there are a couple other things that we're going to do as well to give you the answers as to why things aren't working, right? Because if things aren't working, if you're telling me that you are genuinely doing everything that you can and it's not working, then guess what? It's something else below the surface. It's something with your metabolism, because our bodies weren't designed to just put on weight and be tired and be sluggish and depressed and have your hair fall out. That's not how we were actually designed. If that's happening, and you can literally tell me, listen, I tried everything over here. Everything that you just said, I did already. And that's still happening. Then we have to go a step further. We got to look below the surface. We got to look deeper, right? We have to look deeper. Okay, so let's get you out of screw it syndrome today, right? What's the cure? The cure is make a choice. Oh, you hate me. That sounds too simple. You have to make a choice. So you got to get the stuff out that you brought in. You got to throw out the processed foods again. You got to clean out your cupboards. You got to clean out your body. Get rid of the alcohol. Get rid of the processed food. Get rid of the sugar. Start walking again. If you got far, far away from your gym and you burned your gym membership card, then I want you to just go for a walk. Go for a walk. Throw on an on-demand. Everything's on demand these days. My gosh, there's that Gaia app. You can find things on YouTube. Find something and move. Get your body, get that blood circulating again. Get your body moving. Get your metabolism back up again. Start back at what you used to like to do. Bring that joy back into your life and find joy in doing it. Get out of your own head. Get out of that negative thinking of nothing is ever going to get better. So screw it. I'm just going to eat my pizza and my brownies and my cookies. So screw it. I'm not going to go to the gym. Because what's the point? I want you to get out of your head and break that negative belief system that you're never going to get better, because I've seen it happen with my patients. So I know that we can get you out of that once we move to step 3, and that is proper testing. So this is where we get a little bit deeper. This is where we get into everything that you've heard me talk about. If you're listening to me for the past year, for the past 2 years, the past 3 years, you need proper testing. So we need TSH, free T3, free T4, reverse T3, TPO, and TGA antibodies to look at your thyroid. We need estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, preferably a 4-point salivary cortisol panel, and pregnenolone to look at your hormones and your adrenals. I want to look at your insulin. I want to look at your A1C. Maybe we get a C-reactive protein marker on you. Maybe we test for the co-infections like Epstein-Barr virus and Lyme and other tick-borne illnesses. We have to know what is actually going on with you beneath the surface so you don't have to say, screw it, nothing is working. If you're doing everything that you can, then I promise you there's something else going on that we have to uncover. A lot of times I talk about peeling an onion. So we start to peel away the layers of the onion. That first layer is, hey, Susie Q, are you eating garbage food? Okay, if the answer is yes, then let's peel that away. Come on, let's change that. Let's change that up. Let's at least get you on like a paleo road or a keto road. The premise is there. Everything is gluten-free. You're eating some good quality protein. You're focused on good fats. You're eating the avocados, the walnut oil, the coconut oil. You're bringing all that in. So that's that first layer of the onion. Okay, now let's go deeper. Are you moving at all? Like, are you just sitting around? Are you going for a walk? Are you enjoying nature? Are you walking your dog? Then the next layer, how's your stress level? Are you dealing with that? Are you doing some deep breathing? Are you doing some meditation? Are you tossing in some yoga? Okay, that hits that second layer of the onion with movement. That hits that third layer with just getting into that parasympathetic nervous system to address your adrenals. Ooh, another layer. Now let's look at your stress and your adrenals. Are you under constant stress? Are you a big ball of stress? Do you have a lot of stress in your life that maybe you need to deal with? Now, I'm not talking about the day-to-day. Everybody has day-to-day. Are you dealing with something big? Did you go through a divorce, a death, a loss of a job, especially with this past year, the amount of stress that's been going on? Did someone in your family lose a job? Did you have to move? Those kind, you're taking care of a sick parent. Those kind of stressors are a little bit higher than your average day-to-day, right? Those are those big stressors that you might need some help with. You might need to find a different way of dealing with it, because that's going to affect your adrenal glands. And that's where we see that true adrenal fatigue, adrenal exhaustion, adrenal blowout, whatever you want to call it, dysregulated cortisol patterns. That's where we see that come into play. So that's that next layer of the onion, right? So let's start addressing those. Then we go deeper. Then we get that full thyroid panel done. We get that full hormone panel done. We get those co-infections done. We look at your micronutrients like iodine, magnesium, selenium, zinc, vitamin D, B12, maybe even B6, and a vitamin A. We look at all of those to see, hey, what are you deficient in? So we start peeling away. And as we're peeling, we're changing, right? So that first layer of the processed foods, come on, that's a no-brainer. You're not going to get, it doesn't matter if I go deeper into the onion and I start fixing your thyroid and fixing your hormones. If you're eating like garbage, that's going to negate anything that we do. So that's why that's that first, just that base layer. Like, come on, let's get on board. Let's toss the processed foods, get rid of the gluten, clean your life up, clean your diet up, start to move. Then we can test. We can address stress. Then we can address thyroid. We can address your hormones. We can address your insulin. Let's check your insulin levels and your A1C and your glucose and see, are those all whacked out? Are you doing nothing but creating an inflammatory state in your body hour after hour, day after day? That's going to make you feel like garbage. And that's going to be one of those underlying hidden causes as to why you're not getting results and you're in that screw it syndrome mode. You're walking around with high insulin. You're going to be storing fat. You're going to be dealing with a ton of inflammation. You're going to feel like garbage. Your pain's going to go up and your thyroid will go down. Now, remember, high insulin also comes back to one of the layers of the onion with the thyroid when we're testing your reverse T3. High insulin levels will push up reverse T3. Now, we know reverse T3 being high will prevent T3 from getting into the cell, but we also have to go back to what is reverse T3. It is the survival mechanism of our body. So high insulin, high reverse T3, that is going to slow your metabolic processes down. Because our bodies know that you don't need to be burning fat, you don't need to be growing your hair, you don't even need to really feel good in order to survive. Basic survival mechanism. So reverse will go up and metabolism and everything else will go down and will go low. Not a good state. And that's going to push you further into screw it syndrome because everything's low. You have no metabolism. You feel like garbage. So that's going to push everything so much lower and make everything worse and just bring on the screw it syndrome. I don't blame you, right? Nothing's working. You're going to eat what you want. We're going to stop that today, though. We're going to cure your screw it syndrome today. So layers of the onion, peeling away, changing food, processed food, gluten, exercise, testing your thyroid, testing your hormones, addressing your stress, addressing your cortisol and adrenals, co-infections, Epstein-Barr virus, Lyme, maybe we test for mold, and we go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until we find what is the cause. Now, as we're peeling away, you might get results as we start on the outside and work in. We might not even have to go all the way into mold and hair mineral analysis and heavy metals and all those inner parts of the onion. So that will be a podcast that will be released on Friday. So it will follow this one. So if you're listening to this one, you have to hold on because Karen Martell and I recorded that together and it is amazing. And we go into all of the causes of hypothyroidism and Hashimoto. So we get into the weeds with heavy metals and mold and all that. But we both agree, listen, you don't have to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on functional testing if we don't have to. So if we start on the outside and start treating your screw it syndrome and we peel the layers of the onion and we go in, maybe we have to test heavy metals. Maybe we have to test mold. Maybe you jump on and do a visual acuity test for $15. We talk about that to test for mold and only spend the money if you absolutely have to. So we get deeper and deeper into the core of the onion and maybe we have to address those things. Maybe we don't, but you start on the outside. The outside's pretty simple, isn't it? So let's get you out of screw it syndrome. Let's clean your brain out. Remember, I always talk about hope. There is hope. You can absolutely get better. Let's start on the outside and start to fix that and see how you get better and better and better and better as we move inward. Now, screw it syndrome is cured. Why? Because you're seeing results. When you see results, do you really want to make choices that are going to backtrack you, that are going to send you backwards? No, you don't. So when we finally have you, let's say, optimizing your thyroid and hormones, are you going to make choices to go back to how you felt? We all remember, even us optimized people, remember how we felt and how bad it was. I always talk about me crying in my car after the sixth doctor misdiagnosed me. Many of you have heard that story many, many times. Some of you haven't, so you'll just have to listen to another podcast to hear it. But yes, I remember being there. I will never forget that. And there is nothing you could do to make me go back there. And I'm certainly not going to do it to myself. Do I still fall into screw it syndrome every once in a while? We all do. You know, let's say you had a bad day, a bad week. You're human last time I checked. So you're going to fall into those patterns of reintroducing foods that you know in the back of your mind are not going to result in a positive outcome. You're probably going to feel like crap, but you still allow them to come in because you have that moment of screw it. It's a stressful day and it was a bad day. I'm just going to eat the pizza because I don't have time to make anything. Those are moments in time. I'm talking about the screw it syndrome that lasts and lasts and lasts. So many of my patients will come to me and listen, when you're coming to me, you've already been misdiagnosed. You've been denied proper tests. You've been denied proper medication. And this is why we talk about usually you have to find a functional practitioner to work with because you're going to continue running into roadblocks, jumping from doctor to doctor, finding the answer. So you need to work with someone that specializes in the thyroid and hormones in order to get that answer. So by the time patients come to me, they've already been through doctor after doctor and they've been told that they're normal and everything's fine. So they're deep in screw it syndrome, right? They're like 4 or 5, 6 months, 12 months, year and a half deep. And I completely understand it. I do not fault them whatsoever, because when you're not getting bang for your buck, when you're not getting rewarded for your efforts, why make the effort at all if you're not getting anything back from it? So we have to start with the layers and start working inward. And as we get you more optimized and you get rewarded for your efforts and you get a bang for your buck and you see those changes over time, because we're optimizing your entire body from the outside working in, from those outer layers, food, exercise, mindset, thyroid, hormones, insulin, underlying infections, all that stuff. As we start working on all of that and improving you, there is nothing I could tell you that would make you go backwards to how you felt before. I could dangle a carrot and say, here, I'll give you $100 if you eat like garbage for a week. You'd be like, no, I'm not going back. So that is the best way to cure screw it syndrome, is to get rewarded for your efforts. In order to do that, you have to make changes. You have to be working with someone that knows how to make those changes, to dig deeper into your body to figure out what's going on. Because I promise you, if you really were, and I'll say this multiple times, if you really were working, if you really were doing the right things, if you really were, let's say, doing keto the right way, or if you really were doing paleo, if you really were exercising and you're taking good quality supplements, if you're doing all those right things and you're not getting rewarded, there's something else going on that we must find. So you can't give up. I promise you there's a cure for screw it syndrome. And it usually requires working with someone who knows how to look at all those layers and make those changes. It's a lot for one person. And I will say this, I'll add this on. It's hard to think for yourself. It is really, really hard to think for yourself, because you will overthink it. Even us practitioners, we tend to overthink. So we tend to go, okay, well, maybe I need to test everything, and maybe I need to do 5 different supplements and a cleanse and a liver detox and do more progesterone and we're all over the place. We can't think for ourselves. We need another practitioner to say, I looked at your labs here and everything's cool. You just need X and Y, and you'll be good. And then we go, okay, I can do that. And so just like you, we get overwhelmed. We want to fix yesterday. It's really, really hard to think for yourself. So working with someone, I highly recommend, not just plug in myself. I'm saying work with a functional practitioner wherever you can find them, and you want to work with someone that specializes in the thyroid or hormones, because that's where you're going to get answers quickly, as opposed to bouncing around from doctor to doctor and practitioner to practitioner, wasting your time and wasting your money and wasting your copays, not getting any answers. And then guess what? You get sicker because your screw it symptom grows. And then you continue to eat the processed food that kicks up your insulin, that you continue to eat the processed food and the sugar and the high carbs that pumps up your cortisol, because your body sees that as a stress, that turns that switch on for your autoimmune. So your soldiers that you have in your autoimmune camp go out and attack your thyroid. So much happens when we get into screw it syndrome beneath the surface that's making us worse, and you don't even realize it until you're a few weeks or a few months down the road and you're like, hey, you know what? Now I feel worse, but well, screw it. I'm not going to change my ways now because it didn't work before. But you're digging yourself in a deeper hole. So you need to stop. You need to take a breath. You need to make the small changes, look at the things that you can do, and then maybe go deeper and find out why you are in that screw it syndrome to begin with. Why didn't the simple things work? That's a big red flag that something else is going on beneath the surface that needs tested and addressed. We don't guess, we test, and then address it. So I hope that helps just give you those nuggets of information, those things to chew on, those things to think about, the things to laugh about, because you have screw it syndrome. We all have had it at one point in time. Maybe you're in it right now, and this message is speaking directly to you. And you're like, okay, I need to stop. I'm just making it worse. She's right. I'm making my whole situation worse. And I know you're going to argue with me in your head, but Dr. Amie, everything I do doesn't work. Go back and re-listen. because you might need to test, you might need to work with someone, we might need to dig a little bit deeper as to what's going on with you. But there is an answer. I pull people out of that screw it syndrome hole every day. Every single day, I'm yanking somebody out of it. I'm saying, okay, shit's stopping right now. We're getting on a path of improvement. We're getting on a path of healing. We're getting on a path of optimization. So you got to leave that behavior behind you. I get it. I don't fault you for it. You're in a camp of many who have been there, but now it's time to change. So we're gonna get on the right path and change. So you can do it too. I promise you that. All right, I want to get to so many people chiming in. I love seeing everyone on here today. Nira, Daisy, Tracy, Leslie, Elaine. Thanks for changing the time. I had a little sleep. I only changed it by 15 minutes, girlfriend. I was recording with Karen Martell for the podcast that will be released on Friday. So you're going to want to catch that. And we just chat. We love each other. We just are soul sisters, and we just start talking, and it just goes over. So I had to start this one a little bit late. Okay. Miss Nira, this is a little off topic, but I'm going to read your comments. Anywho, I got COVID-19 and never been the same. So, and you're saying that we've all been there. Thanks for the reminder. Let's see. You're trying to get out of your head. It is tough. All that, Nira. Yes, yes, yes. So getting COVID, can sometimes, you've heard of long hauler syndrome. I'm seeing a lot of this in my patients where after you have it, it really is leaving behind some long-term effects. So a lot of brain fog, a lot of cognition issues. Many of them will mimic hypothyroidism. Now, the other thing is that we're seeing thyroid lab values go really wacky. So you might want to retest, get that full thyroid panel done again, Nira, and just to, get some answers as to where your levels are now. Even if you got tested right before you had COVID, you want to test now to see really where are you at right now, post-COVID, post your body going through that cytokine storm and that inflammation. Okay. Elaine loves cleaning out her fridge, put you in a good mood. That's good. Okay. Becky, getting out of my head is where I'm stuck. So I've seen that a couple times now, right? How to get out of your head. So this is actually why, if you work with me, I've incorporated in a mindset coach, because I'm finding that, listen, you guys need a lot of support in your healing journey. And I built my program as a transformational journey. So it's not, okay, let's just test you and, slap a med on you and you're better. It's about looking at all those other factors. Remember, I always say both and. So yes, you need a personalized nutrition plan that fits your labs. We need to address your thyroid, both and at the same time. We have to look at your adrenals and your hormones and your insulin and your A1C and your inflammation and your co-infections and everything else that can drive your thyroid to go in the toilet, that can turn on Hashimoto's, that can drive autoimmune. So we want to do both and. It's the total transformational journey that we have to go through. Detox pathways, if there is. Heavy metals, if we have to test that. Gut healing, that's a lot of people. So it's not just, here's a med, happy days, go on your way. That would make me as bad as the conventional docs that give you a depression medication or a statin or a blood pressure medication. It has to be the whole package. Part of that package that I have found working with patients over these years, decades, is that there is that mental component. Listen, when you've been through what we've all been through, everybody listening, you're listening because you're dealing with a health crisis or you dealt with one. You're listening because you have hypothyroidism, have Hashimoto's, you have hormone dysfunction, you have prediabetes, you have PCOS, you have insulin resistance, you have autoimmune. And going through that is like a big time stressor. And those who haven't gone through it don't get it. So don't try to explain it to somebody else. They're not going to get it. We get it, right? So going through that is a tremendous stressor. And that can leave behind limiting beliefs that are just running beneath the surface. If you've gone through other stressors on top of health stressors, look the hell out. You have negative patterns that you might not even realize. That belief system of, I'm never going to get better. I can't do that. I can't give up gluten. I can't give up bread. I'm never going to get better. No one's ever going to listen to me. I've been through too much. I can't change. I've been through too much. It's taken a toll on my body. I'm old. It doesn't matter. I just need to eat less and exercise more. I'm a woman. I'm going to go through hormone changes. It's part of life. I'm just not going to feel good. I'm getting older. And you see where this cycle can continue and it can spiral. And it's just a little blip thought. It's not something you're ruminating on. It's just a little blip. Enough of those blips will keep you stuck. And just like you're saying, Becky, it's hard to get out of your head, right? It's hard to get out of your head because those thoughts are going on beneath the surface. They're almost subconscious to a point. Now, by no means am I a mindset coach. By no means do I specialize in this. I love me some Joe Dispenza. He really gets into that limiting beliefs and what's going on beneath your surface, and our behaviors are, what does he say? It's something about like choices and behaviors is a product of and he ties it together like our subconscious belief systems that's kind of running, but I'm not saying it right at all. If anybody knows it, type it in. Joe Dispenza, our subconscious, our conscious, our belief system, something like that. But really, I mean, it's what is that record that's playing over and over again in your head that you don't even realize is playing is going to bring you into a limiting belief. So I've actually incorporated a mindset coach because we have to attack that. We got to shift your thinking. And it's not therapy. There's nothing wrong with therapy, but it's not long drawn out therapy. It's just let's shift your belief system. Let's just shift that over. And it can be done like that. It can be done in a moment of time. When you make that choice and you see things from a different point of view, it can actually change your subconscious beliefs. So, Becky, I get it, but I must say there's ways to address it and there's ways to get out of your head. Near, you've been through a lot of stress, right? You're saying, how long will I keep checking for all the things? I think you're tired of testing your blood. Well, so here's the thing. And Becky, you're saying me too, especially since it's all out of pocket. If you're working with a good practitioner, you don't have to test. So Karen Martell and I talk about this. Again, you'll hear it on Friday, where we both really like to save money for our patients. So you might find that if you work with a functional practitioner, has the term functional, integrative, whatever, in front or the end of their name or whatever, they could order you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in functional testing. Do we really need that? You know, can we start with like CBC with diff and figure out if there's some infections like long-term chronic? Can we go by that instead of ordering a bajillion different functional tests and save you some money? Can we do the visual acuity screening instead of ordering you $500 mold test? I mean, some people need that deeper look, and others we can stick with the basics, the cheap basics, right? And then Becky, I want to mention, if you're paying out of pocket, you're going to want to check out Ulta Labs. I have the link on my website. By far the cheapest order your own lab testing place out there, by far the cheapest. So you're going to want to check that out. But listen, once we get you basic tested, we see what we need to do. You should really only get tested if we're changing your med, if you're not feeling well. People ask me that all the time. Like, well, how often should I get my thyroid retested? It's like, well, you know, I mean, once you're optimized once a year, I don't even need mine tested. I know when it's off. I have to get it tested once a year for insurance purposes to continue covering my medication to say, hey, yeah, we did it. But how often? It's different for everyone. If you're feeling like crap, let's check it again. Like Nira, you went through COVID. Let's check it again. If you're not getting better, let's check other things. If your thyroid panel looks great and it looks optimized, maybe we need to look over here at all these other factors that are going on. So how often? It's hard to say. How long will you have to keep checking? It's hard to say. It depends on what we find and what treatment you're kind of moving to. Denise, results equals motivation. Bam. Exactly. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Okay. What happens after 6 months and still not optimized? Well, for you, Tracy, we're still moving up in your dose. So everybody's different. So we keep increasing the dose of T3 to find that optimized point. Everybody, it takes everyone a different amount of time, especially if you have a lot of things going on beneath the surface. So like I said, it's like that peeling the onion. Like we're changing things, testing things, treating things. Oh, look, person not responding to all of the simple stuff. Now let's go deeper. Is your insulin balanced? How are your hormones? Is your cortisol through the roof? Is there something pushing a reverse T3 up? Do you need more T3? Is your optimal higher? I talk about this all the time. Optimal is 3.5 or above for free T3. Is your optimal 3.5? Maybe. Is it 4? Could be. Maybe it's 4.5 or 5, like mine. So you don't, what is my optimal is not your optimal. What your optimal is not my optimal. We might need to go up in your dose and keep chipping away. Listen, thyroid and hormones, 3 to 6 months to just get them balanced. And then we have to keep, now some people quicker. Some people it's easy breezy. It's like, oh yeah, we change this, we do this, good to go, optimize. Some of you are more complex and we got to keep digging and peeling those layers of the onion. Kelly, first day gluten-free is not as hard as I thought. See, I told you this. Now, when you're in the patient membership group, since you have access to all my courses, Kelly, not everybody, Kelly. So you got to get in there and you got to listen to the gluten-free is not just a fad. So make sure you hit that one because that's going to just, again, education, information, results equals motivation. I think having that education and information also, it's like it's in your head. It's like me chirping in your brain. Like, oh, yeah, I want to eat the brownie, but I can hear Amie saying that gluten is going to mimic an autoimmune attack, and then those soldiers are going to go out and attack my thyroid. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, I'm going to skip it. Educate yourself. Keep going. Good job. Good job, Kelly. Elaine, even little changes can galvanize our resolve to keep digging for answers. That's deep, Elaine. I love that. That's awesome. All right. You're on day 4. Oh, this is a different Kelly. We have Kelly that's on first day of gluten-free, not as hard. And another Kelly that's on day 4 of gluten-free and keto based on my podcast. It's actually been great. Lost 4 pounds. Swelling and pain in my hands is gone. Woo! I've spent, since having my 2-year-old boy being able to lose and gaining uncontrollably, I start working with Amie in August. I'm so excited. Yay, Kelly. See, you're making changes already. And this is what happens. So whenever we start working together, right, I get you on a path of those basic foundations. I get you on a path of change. Then we dive deep at your first consultation and we really get into the nitty gritty and the testing and the meds and all that fun stuff. But you got to lay the basics down first, right, Cal? You're in the outside of the onion. You're making those changes now. And we're closing in. And then when we close in, then it's easy breezy. Easy breezy. Okay. I started with Amie at the end of July. 30 plus years of this is more than enough. Hell yeah, it's enough. Both Kellys. Both Kellys. You are going through this and it's about time. Time to make the shift. So we're going to get you optimized, get your life back. It's not going to be a problem. People, I do this every day. So I know, and I've addressed this before. I know you might be feeling like, and it goes back to that mindset, right? You might be feeling like, well, I've been to so many doctors. What's going to make you different? What makes you different? How are you going to help me? How are you going to help me? Nobody else has been able to help me. How are you going to do it? I'm not going to get any better. This is pointless. What's the point? Screw it. What's the point? Right? So many of you have been dealing with a health condition, dealing with undiagnosed hypothyroidism, dealing with mismanaged hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's for decades. And it's really hard to get out of that drain that a health condition can have on you, to get out of your head, to get out of the drain. Here's 2 Kellys, both coming to see me. You can see their attitudes have improved already. They're already seeing changes, and that's what we want. Immediate results. And then if you're a complex case, listen, we keep plugging away. I don't stop. You will not hear me Some of my patients come to me and they go, I was fired by my doctor because they say I'm too hard of a case. No, if I don't know an answer, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to ask somebody who does. Most of the time we can figure it out on our own. We can bring in other experts as well. Believe me, I got my resources. We'll figure you out. You're not too hard of a case. That's just doctors giving up on you. See it all the time. We are listening because you're awesome and keep us informed. Well, thank you. And I try. I try. I'm glad you are listening. The other Kelly. We got Kelly A, we got Kelly R. So you're telling one Kelly is telling the other Kelly that my husband is doing a diet with me and my kids are going to go gluten-free. I was working toward a fitness comp prior to my last fitness competition. That's right. Prior to my last baby. And now I can barely stay awake. It's awful. Pretty sure this has been brewing for years. I can't wait to be a good mom again. And as we talk about a lot on this podcast, after pregnancy is a stress. So I can't tell you how many women have come to me and said, after my first child, after my second child, I had a new patient today. When we really started digging, child number 2 was hard, man. It was hard. It was hard. But the first child, when she goes back, she goes, I'm pretty sure it started with child number 1, pregnancy number 1. And pregnancy is a stress. So that's when that switch comes on for autoimmune. That's when the thyroid starts to tank, any kind of stressor. So I'm not surprised that, yes, you're probably right. It probably has been brewing for years. And remember that Hashimoto's is usually around for decades before you are diagnosed properly, because then we can get into testing and how proper testing isn't done and all that good stuff. Yeah. Okay. If it comes down to the end, like the end of the onion, if it comes down to the end, like mold tests, etc., and you have that in your system, what do? Light your house on fire? Okay, my dear. So you have to get it remediated. So they're in the Attune Thyroid group, which is amazing. My good friend Jessica has been totally open about her whole process of remediation. And it cost them a lot, but they found a crap ton of mold. So yeah, if honestly, mold experts will tell you, move. Light your house on fire, move. Or go through the process of testing and remediation. So if you know that you're in an old house, if you know there's been water damage, if you can smell musty, even if you can't, if you test positive for mold, you got to check your house first, because that's most likely the source. Yes, some workplaces are as well, but now a lot of us are working from our homes. So yeah, you're going to have to go through a remediation process. There are good companies, bad companies. If you go back in my podcast, I talk about this with Dr. Tim Jackson. Now, again, he does the expensive mold testing. And I guess if you have been like really heavily burdened, and like you said, we're at the end of the onion, we're at the core, right? We've looked at everything. We've treated everything. We've looked at your gut. We've treated your cortisol. We treat all the micronutrients. You're perfect in every area. But, we do this mold test and your house is full of mold. That might be that last thing, right? That might be that last thing. But like I said, I always like to start with saving you money. So I would ask you, are you sure that you've done everything from the outside in? Are you positive that you've addressed everything? If you haven't, I would start there, because remediation, I don't know, 50 grand, depending on how much it has spread through your house and what you got to tear out and replace and tear down and rebuild. And did they do it right? Did they do your basement right? And yeah, if you're into Attune Thyroid, ask Jessica about that, because it's a lot of work. A lot of work. She showed us pictures. She's posted pictures of the renovation process, and it's a lot of work and a lot of stress. So make sure you do everything else first. Elaine, I sold my house and moved interstate because of black mold. It had to be done. So yeah, listen, I tell about the story of going to see houses, and I walked into one house and I was sick for an entire week because she had black mold in the basement. So sometimes you can tell, sometimes you can smell it. And then sometimes you just have to do a remediation, or like Elaine, you got to move if you know that it's really, really bad. So, okay. That is the end of all the comments. Thank you so much for listening, as always. And if you would share this, that'd be awesome. If you leave a review on iTunes, that would be super, super awesome. And if you do need any more information, you can always book a discovery call from my website, and we can talk about what it looks like for us to work together and to take you on that transformational journey, start to finish, beginning to end, total fixing, complete thyroid fix method. That's what I do. All right, everyone. We will see you later this week. Make sure you check out that podcast with me and Karen. I promise you that will be some good stuff. All right. Take care.